been almost 11 months since the beginning of the pandemic, and there isn't a clear end in sight. Since December 26, we've been in lockdown. By the time the current state of emergency ends, it'll have been almost 2 months. This is a long time to limit socializing, particularly for anyone who's older or immune compromised, as they've likely spent the vast majority of their time indoors. As the quarantine continues, many of us are concerned about the impact of loneliness on ourselves as well as our loved ones. Hi everyone, I'm Trevor Sullivan from Sullivan Associates Clinical Psychology. Today I'm going to talk about how to deal with feelings of loneliness during the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we get started, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the alert notification. That way, when we make more videos like this, you'll get notified. Loneliness is likely the single most underrated mental health issue. The reason I say this is because roughly 1/3 of people over the age of 45 struggle with feelings of loneliness. And there have been over 100 studies to show how being lonely is linked to a 50% increase in death. Yes, you heard that correctly. It doesn't lead to a 50% increase in depression, anxiety, or sleep difficulties. It leads to a 50% increase in death, largely related to the increased potential of suicide. So clearly, this is a very serious issue. And the studies I'm referring to were all completed before the current pandemic. Not surprisingly, living through a global pandemic and being involved in a quarantine not only contributes to mental health difficulties, but it can make pre-existing mental health problems worse. So it's very important to know what strategies you or a loved one can use at this time. Today, we're going to look at 4 different strategies that are backed by current research. For my first strategy, I'll start with the one that's probably the most obvious and likely the most widely used. And that is taking advantage of technology, such as messenger apps and video conferencing, that can help to keep you connected with family and friends. A 2019 study by Dr. Linda Kay and colleagues, which was completed just prior to the beginning of the pandemic, they found that messenger apps such as Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, and WhatsApp help reduce feelings of loneliness. I imagine that many of you are already familiar with the function of these apps, but for those of you who aren't, they allow you to send messages, pictures, and videos to other people. The researchers also found that the ability to chat with groups of people on these apps was a particularly valuable function. And of course, being able to communicate face-to-face by using video conferencing technology such as Skype, Zoom, FaceTime is particularly beneficial. A 2020 study by Dr. Allison May and colleagues found that group exercise classes in person and online help combat feelings of social isolation and loneliness. What is particularly interesting, so with this study, it was ongoing at the time the pandemic began, so the researchers added the online component during the initial lockdown to see if it was effective. Unfortunately, the effects of taking classes online were similar to attending the classes in person in helping people to overcome feelings of loneliness. So the key here is to make using video conferencing a priority as opposed to viewing it as a bother or something that's too technologically challenging to use. The additional connection you gain, being able to see the other person, it'll be worth it. And I also encourage you to be creative in using video conferencing or meeting in person. Consider activities such as meeting with family members you don't reside with, or meeting with friends outside at an appropriate physical distance, or go on a family outing in separate vehicles to see the local sites and then communicate by video conferencing. The more creativity here, the better. But a word to the wise. This technology is beneficial, but should only be a component of your socializing. Otherwise, getting stuck on your smartphone can ultimately do more harm than good. A 2019 study by Dr. Lapierre and colleagues found that people who become dependent on smartphone use were at risk of developing mental health problems, such as depression and loneliness. So how do you know if you're dependent on your smartphone? The researchers asked a series of questions with statements such as, "I panic when I cannot find my smartphone." If you answer that statement as strongly agree, Alyssa Sullivan, there's a risk you're becoming dependent on your smartphone. And one more quick comment on technology as it relates to social media use, particularly in teens and younger adults. Excessive social media use can lead to problems with depression and loneliness. In a 2018 study by Dr. Melissa Hunt and colleagues, they found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes a day helped to decrease feelings of loneliness and depression significantly. So why such a short period of time? The researchers found that a lot of social comparison occurs. In social comparison, that involves comparing yourself to others. And when this happens online, people tend to compare themselves in areas where they feel other people are better, which in turn leads to them feeling worse about themselves. And given that people tend to put their best foot forward online by doing things such as taking multiple photos and selecting the best one, using photo filters, or creating artificially happy photo opportunities, the problems of social comparison, they become compounded. But given that we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, in-person interaction has been limited with many of our family and friends, 30 minutes of social media use for regular users might be a bit unrealistic at this time. But the takeaway message here is that technology can be a very helpful tool to help reduce feelings of loneliness, but it's important not to get stuck on it for extended periods each day. Fortunately, we've got other strategies you can weave in to help reduce feelings of loneliness. For my second strategy, I encourage you to spend time reading during the course of the day. And I'm not talking about reading more about the coronavirus or the latest thing Trump said. I'm talking about reading a novel. A 2013 study by Dr. David Kidd and Dr. Manuel Castano found that reading a novel can reduce feelings of loneliness. So you might be wondering, why did this work? Novels not only allow you to get lost in a good book, they can allow you to create a connection with the author. When reading a novel, there are times when we can find parallels between ourselves and other characters in the book. A great author can make you feel as if someone knows you personally. At the very least, it can feel comforting and connecting to know that another person experiences the same thoughts and feelings as you do. Another benefit of reading a novel is that a good author can describe special experiences you've had and remind you of close connections you've had to other people. So if you're a fan of literature or know someone else who is, this is a great strategy to help battle feelings of loneliness. For my third strategy, I encourage you to make getting a good night's sleep a top priority. A 2018 study by Dr. Eddie Simon and Dr. Matthew Walker found that sleep deprivation made people feel more lonely. And to make matters worse, a lack of sleep makes people feel less likely to engage with others. So if you're wondering why this is, people tend to feel less socially attractive when they don't get enough sleep. So in turn, they withdraw, which obviously presents a barrier to in-person or video communication. Of course, if you don't get a good night's sleep, I highly encourage you to power through and socialize, especially with family and friends. And if you're looking to improve the quality of your sleep during this current pandemic, I've created another video called How to Worry Less When You Should Be Sleeping, which you can find on our website. But for now, I'm going to quickly discuss my top 10 core components that would be helpful to include in a good sleep routine. For starters, it's important to leave at least a 1-hour wind-down period before bed while you do something relaxing. This could be taking a bath or shower, reading, or engaging in another relaxing activity. If you choose to read in a device, be sure to use the night shift mode in your phone or turn the brightness down to help minimize the blue light, which can interfere with sleep. Second, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. This would include weekends as well. Number 3, keep it dark. Generally speaking, darker the better. Number 4, keep it quiet. Feel free to use white noise or a fan if needed. It can help to block out distracting background noise. Number 5, keep it cool. Within reason, of course. So this means in the 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degree Fahrenheit ballpark. 6, avoid ruminating, which is excessive concern about events that occurred in the past or the future. Instead, have an interesting thought to focus on. If you can't fall asleep right away, you need something to think about that's relaxing. Number 7, don't toss and turn for long periods of time. If you're on asleep within 30 to 45 minutes, get up for 5 to 10 minutes to break up the inevitable pattern of frustration that's likely set in before returning to bed. 8, if you're unable to sleep right away, don't check your phone. Blue light from your phone is stimulating. And besides, if you don't check your phone, the world's going to keep on turning just fine. Number 9, don't do mental math to figure out how much sleep you'll get if you fall asleep this instant. Chances are you can't pull that magic trick off anyway, and it's just going to create more pressure to fall asleep. And lastly, don't put too much pressure on yourself to fall asleep quickly. This will take you further away from relaxation, which is what you need to fall asleep anyhow. Besides, if you get a poor night's sleep, you might feel lousy, but you'll still be able to function the next day. And now for my fourth strategy. I suggest using the power of nostalgia to help you feel less lonely. For wondering what nostalgia means, it involves thinking back to better times. A 2008 study by Dr. Xinyu Zhu and colleagues, they found that nostalgia helped reduce feelings of loneliness and improve mental health in general. A few quick examples of nostalgic thinking could include thinking back to a happy time, such as a past birthday that was enjoyable, a fun event when you were younger, or even a great experience with someone close to you. And if some of these memories happen to bring up some negative emotions, that's okay. The overall impact of nostalgic thinking is positive in fighting loneliness. I have a final bonus tip. It would be a grab bag of suggestions based on very recent research about loneliness that was completed since the beginning of the current pandemic. A 2020 study by Dr. Elaine Parvati and colleagues explored different ways to reduce feelings of loneliness by setting activities that could ultimately rival face-to-face interaction. What was interesting is they found a few unconventional activities that were highly effective as well. So here we go. Here are the top 3 activities they found to be similar in effectiveness to face-to-face interaction. First, listening to a favorite musician. Second, watching a film you really liked. And number 3, enjoying a TV show. Simple, nothing earth-shattering here. But all these activities help to occupy time and create feelings of connection. And there were other effective strategies as well. These included having reminders of family and friends around the house, eating favorite foods, reading a book, playing with a pet, even gaming can all help reduce feelings of loneliness. The researchers found that all these activities increase social connectedness, which helps to increase your social fuel tank. And that's particularly important. When your social fuel tank runs low, it leads to mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and loneliness. So I highly encourage you to use a few of these strategies each day to help reduce feelings of loneliness. And be sure to use a grab bag of strategies. So don't become too reliant on any one single strategy, such as technology, which, as we've discussed, can become even less effective and create problems if used too much. So to provide a quick recap, first, I encourage you to take advantage of technology to touch base with loved ones. Messenger apps and video conferencing are 2 great ways to stay in touch. The more creativity you can use to socialize with family and friends, the better. Second, I encourage you to spend time reading during the course of the day. More specifically, consider diving into a novel. This research shows that connection to the author or characters in the story can decrease feelings of loneliness. For my third strategy, getting a good night's sleep is a top priority. People are more likely to withdraw socially when they're sleep deprived, even from family and friends. Fourth, suggest taking a bit of time to be nostalgic, which means to think back to better times. If there's someone in particular that you're missing right now, being nostalgic is a great way to improve that connection, while also decreasing feelings of loneliness. And for my bonus tip, consider trying a few unconventional activities that researchers have found to effectively reduce feelings of loneliness during the current pandemic. These strategies include listening to a favorite musician, watching a film you really liked, enjoying a TV show, having reminders of family and friends around the house, eating favorite foods, reading a book, playing with a pet, and gaming. So I hope you found these strategies for decreasing feelings of loneliness during the COVID-19 pandemic to be helpful. If you did, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button below. If you ring the bell, you'll be notified the next time we release a video. And of course, feel free to like and share the video, as well as leave a comment. If you're experiencing challenges implementing the steps in this video, please contact us at Sullivan Associates Clinical Psychology. Thank you for watching.